This is the Sunkist Podcast.
Welcome to the Sunkist Podcast. Today, if you are into like ghosts and spooky shit, this is the episode for you. We got the host of the Grave Podcast, Josh King. Josh, how's it going tonight?
It is going, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm just very curious about some topics, and we will definitely deep dive into it. But first, I just want to start by asking what got you into podcasting?
So podcasts were not something, and still really aren't something I'm like super big into. I started, I guess, years ago. I don't know, what was it called? Serial? It was called, and it was like this murder kind of true crime thing where this kid, maybe or maybe didn't murder his girlfriend. So that was like the one and only like podcasts that I really listened to for, I don't know, for years. And then recently I got into this podcast called Spooked, and they pretty much do, real life ghost stories, people discussing, their haunted house or haunted hospital or wherever, they saw a ghost or experienced something. And it kind of got me thinking, like, I wanted to do something like that. I knew I could. So for me, it was one of those things where it was just how to differentiate myself from it and not, just make it sound exactly the same. So the way I tried to split it was just having it be a little more casual, a little more one-on-one. And obviously, the people who come on to my podcast, they tell their ghost stories. But I really want it to be a conversation and, just kind of a no pressure environment. They can say what they experienced and say what they saw. And then it's up to really the listener to kind of take it for what it is. And if, they love it or they can relate to it, that's great. And if not, that's fine too. It's a really no pressure podcast.
Yeah, and I can totally agree with that. Like, one thing that I like about your podcast and a few others is it, like you said, it's more of a conversation and less of like an interview. And that, to me, I feel like you get the most genuine conversation out of people. And you kind of elaborated a little bit, but if you can a little more, why did you choose the topics of ghosts to talk about? Is it because of like experience you may have had when you were younger or recent that may have changed like your perspective on anything paranormal?
The paranormal, ghosts, like I'm a big horror fan in general. I love horror movies, books, video games, you name it, I'm into it. Ghosts were always kind of a thing for me in the paranormal where I always kind of believed in it. But I'd never really had, up until, a few years ago, kind of a concrete experience. And I kind of mention it. I go over it in episode 1 of my podcast, but I saw when I was about 16, 17, like a shadow figure in my bedroom. It's kind of standing over me while I slept. And that was kind of like the first like big moment for me where I was like, holy shit, maybe, and again, my house, as far as I know, is not haunted. So I don't know what that was, but it kind of just gave me great pause. Cause I was like, that was certainly something. I didn't just like wake up and saw it. I woke up, rolled over, was kind of like laying awake for a few minutes and then rolled over and saw it. So it wasn't like I was in like a sleep paralysis state or something. So that kind of started me on this, like, okay, even when you least expected, something could happen. And which kind of led me to my second encounter. I was studying abroad in Spain, and this hotel I was staying at was completely like newly renovated, nothing amiss really. But after a few kind of strange incidences with like doors opening and closing and lights turning on and off, I actually ended up seeing what I believe was a young 17-year-old Hispanic girl kind of in my hotel room. And that was kind of like the catalyst for me to be like, okay, that was a story I have. And that kind of carried with me. And as I kind of went throughout life after that, I would bring up, the paranormal and just the topic in general. And funny enough, people would start being like, hey, I had an experience, or, this happened to me. And that kind of just started cataloging these people and kind of their stories they said. And from there, years later, present day, I have enough of a Rolodex where I was able to reach out to some folks and they were willing enough to talk about their experiences. But for me, I find it interesting because a lot of times people I feel like don't want to talk about this type of stuff. And the biggest thing for me with the podcast was to get their stories out there, because I don't like the paranormal to me, like it should be one of the bigger like topics like ever discussed, right? Like you're talking about life after death. Like that should be, I think, high on everyone's list. But I think also, people's varying perceptions of, reality, consciousness, whatever, they want to talk about. It's easy to write off as, I just had did an episode with one of my friends who's an atheist, and he chalks a lot of it up to psychology and having, just kind of splits in reality, which could be, but I think it's also just as easy to say like there was something amiss in reality that our perceptions are not akin to. So for me, having these people tell their stories and get these experiences out there, I think just brings more and more awareness to what could be, instead of just, chalking it up to, oh, this person, like I said, sleep paralysis, or, they, were high one day and they saw something that probably wasn't there, or whatever the case may be.
I think that's interesting how you said one of your first experiences when you was like 15 or 16, because I think that's when my first one was. It was in my grandfather's house, who I was staying at the time. And in that house, my grandmother, his wife died in the living room, and then his other wife, her mom, died in one of the guest rooms. So when I was 15 or 16, I didn't know if I was having sleep paralysis or not, because I did a lot of research, and I felt this weight on my chest, and I really couldn't move. And it just felt like someone was sitting on me. And I remember there were like 3 human-like figures in my room. And I couldn't understand the third one. Right. And for one, I wouldn't think that these spirits in the house are evil, because it's like family in a way. So I didn't really understand what was going on. And I remember, like I couldn't move. My eyes were barely open to my knowledge. It felt like my eyes were almost closed, but I could see, which is weird. But but then I did my research, and I can't remember the name of the demon, but there's that one that it comes to like, what I mean, like everyone has had experiences, and some people chalk it up to sleep paralysis, but there's this one spirit that sits on your chest and like really messes with you. So I can't. So that was the day where I knew it wasn't just sleep paralysis. And I was more interested, why do some spirits stay, and why do some fully go on to rather it's heaven or hell? I can't tell you if I believe in that. But what I do believe in is ghosts and spirits, and some stay around. And that's something that I've been interested in. And that's why I kind of reached out to you, because from what I've gathered on your show, it seems like from the people you talk to, I think you would have a little more knowledge than me. And I also do agree with that. It should be talked about more. Like a very popular topic now that wasn't so popular back then, that people would kind of be on the hush hush, was aliens. But now it's such a wide topic, and now they're doing Netflix series and
all History Channel shows.
Yeah, all these declassified files are coming out. So why not have more shows about this? I feel like some people are afraid to speak up because they might feel like they got stuff to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even like, for me, I feel like it's to lose. Yes. But it's almost like they're being like embarrassed into submission to a point, and maybe it's not that drastic, but it's like, it's so easy to be like, you might have seen that, but you probably didn't. So let's not even discuss that further, because we all know reality. And most normally what happens is you think you saw something and you didn't. I think there's more, I think there's more to reality than than our senses give us credit for. And I don't think we can fully grasp that. And I think sometimes we get kind of little glimpses into beyond the veil, if you will. I feel like a lot of those again, are chalked up to just, your brain being crazy, but they may very well be something real that we just are not taking seriously enough.
Yeah. And I also do want to go on a record, and I hope people also know, like, at least 20 times a day when I'm like up and moving around real fast. And sometimes I feel like I see something out the corner of my eye, but I feel like everyone has those moments throughout the day just because they're up. So that I know is not like, I know that's just like me moving around and maybe like my peripheral, like not being there. But, I do know in my mind, if I see something, I know it's real. So one question I do want to ask is, what are some of your favorite stories that you've covered so far? And do you mind to go into some detail with the people who listen to my podcast that may have not have listened to yours yet?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, we're halfway through season 1. It's going to be a 10-season episode. So we've shot 5 so far. 5 are out. I took a 2-week little hiatus for Thanksgiving. So this week and next week we'll be off. And then the following December 8th, I believe that Wednesday is when we pick back up. And then 5 more will be coming out on obviously the subsequent weeks. But the ones I've had so far, I really have tried to kind of get a varied breadth of experience and stories. I think one of the craziest ones was my buddy Kevin Notine, who I talked to. He grew up in a place called North Cove. It's a like little hamlet in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, where we both grew up. And he has some crazy stories, but pretty much the big one was I don't know the history of it, truthfully, but it's suspected, and given artifacts that were found, that most of the land is on a native burial ground or some sort of Native American, settlement. And he was walking into his basement. His mom asked him to get, a can of soup or something for dinner. He walked downstairs, and underneath his stairs, he looked, and there was just this kind of fog-like humanoid figure of a Native American, like full headdress. He said he didn't look like a real person, but he definitely knew it was a Native American male. He was a tall guy. And he said he sprinted upstairs, and, his mom kind of told him, like, again, your mind's playing tricks on you. Don't worry about it. And, a few other crazy things happened in that house, but there was also these spirits of his mother believed kids, and they would play with his toys in the basement and stuff. Kevin ended up moving out of that house a few years after he moved in. And his mom not only confided in him after that the house was in fact haunted and that she had experienced a lot of that stuff too. But the girl, there was a family who moved in. They had a girl, it was a daughter who was, I can't remember if he said a little older, a little younger than we were at the time. But she came up to him at school one day and was like, "Hey, you used to live in my house, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she was like, "So I walked downstairs, to do some laundry the other day. And she had this like bin of sidewalk chalk down there, I guess, from when she was younger. And she noticed that it had all been spilt out. And on the wall were like little kind of like abstract stick figure drawings, like littered all over the wall." And for me, that was cool because it wasn't like Kevin, knew her or, told her anything. She went up to him randomly one day and was like, "Did you experience some crazy shit in your house?" And he was like, "Well, tell me about it first before I even, admit to anything." So it was cool to have kind of that perspective of like one person went through it, and then say another person who lived in that house had another experience that kind of emulated something he went through. So that was very cool. And then another one of my favorites was this girl, Nikki Fontaine, who I knew when I lived in New York. And she has a crazy story about, she has a bunch of them, but the biggest one was for me, she feels like she calls it downloading, where she kind of like assimilates feelings and information from various surroundings. And she as a kid, her and her brother slept in the same room, and next to her bed, because she was a terrible sleeper, was this like chaise lounge with this like knit blanket on top. And her parents used to like read to her in it, and before she went to bed. but she always got this like really like kind of hair raising feeling, like someone was sitting in the chair. And she said it was like a big energy. Like she felt this like big hair and long nails. And like she smelled like, I forget, it was like floral perfume and like, wearing crazy, like flashy clothes. And she chalked it up in her mind. She was like, it's a clown, Mom. Like there's a clown in my room. And so, this goes on and, she doesn't come to any harm, but years later, she's looking through a family photo album, and next to her grandfather is this woman, this clown that she thought she saw, and it ended up being her grandmother. And she has a French name for it. I can't recall it right now, but and it turned out that she was sensing the spirit of, what she says was her grandmother. And it's interesting enough because the knit blanket that was on that chair was either knitted by her or her grandmother's. So there was that, familial kind of connection there. And, to be fair, her grandmother, if she was there, was just, I'm sure, looking at her granddaughter, trying to, keep an eye on her while she slept or something. And as a child, she's picking up some crazy energy. Is probably very frightening. But it's funny the juxtaposition between like, a deceased family member trying to look out for you or just saying hi, as opposed to, a child looking at that being like, oh my God, there's something scary in my room. But I thought just like finding out all those years later that what she visualized from her downloading was someone in her family was a very cool story.
That kind of goes back to my to what I said at the beginning, living with my grandfather. I want to say that I seen my actual grandmother one night, and the thing that's weird about this is she died before I was born, so I've only seen pictures of what like she looked like.
Yeah.
And I remember I was on my laptop one night and it wasn't too late. So it's not like my brain was like extremely tired or anything.
Right.
And I got done. I turned the laptop off and I had like a lamp that was like above my desk. And I swear I seen like my grandmother put like her hand on my shoulder. And like when I turned around, there wasn't nothing there, but I could feel like a cold, like touch left on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I felt at peace though, like that. It was peaceful in a way. It's like that was her like kind of saying like, hey, I'm here, like I got your back. That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
And then
it's good you had that like that feeling of reassurance, because it's like cold spots I feel like are all right, I know, are like a sign that like there's a spirit or something there. But a lot of times I feel like it's associated with something negative. So it's nice that you had a kind of a positive association.
I feel like it was just the energy, period. I don't want to say it was negative. I just think that was her way of like saying like, I'm here. And I talked to my grandfather the next day, and he says he sees her a lot in the house. So I'm like, and that doesn't, yeah. And I'm like, and that doesn't like bother you? He's like, well, it kind of makes me sad for a minute, but it's just good seeing her face,
Yeah.
But he doesn't live in the house anymore, not because of that. He just couldn't keep up on the farm, So he sold it, and but that house was good, man. Even though I had that one bad experience, I don't know what that was, but I never felt uncomfortable in that house.
That's
good.
So a lot of people have the opposite. A lot of people are like always looking over their shoulder.
No, because I think the spirits in the house were family. Now I'm sure the new homeowners. Fun fact: they actually tore the house down and built something bigger, which I don't understand. And it was a nice house before. Yeah. But I don't know if they lived in the house for a bit before they tore it down. So I kind of want to get in contact with with the people who bought the house and ask like, hey, when you moved in, did you have like any experiences with anything, Because like maybe like my grandmother and her would have been a little upset having strangers in the house. Because some spirits like to hold on to what's theirs in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next question though I want to ask, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but this is just from like shows I've seen and research, some say it's been proven that most ghost spottings have been like seen in abandoned buildings or like outskirts of places. From what you gathered, did you find that to be true, and why or why not?
So I am not a ghost hunter per se. I would love to go to like certain locations. It's definitely on my to-do list to like go check out buildings and haunted locations. I can't say with any degree of certainty that the abandoned building thing is true. I will say that a lot of times those buildings have been around for a long time, and a lot of those buildings, I mean, at least the ones you see that people investigate are usually like abandoned psychiatric hospitals or hospitals in general where people died. So in that respect, it would make sense that there are spirits there, or some sort of presence that would linger. They are more or less haunted than a place downtown that I guess the thing is, if it's like, let's think about it, it's in like homes. Brand new construction on a piece of land that used to be just forest, probably not going to have any ghosts or hauntings in that home. House that was built in 1880 that's kind of been remodeled here and there or whatever to make it look a little better and fix what it needs to be fixed. I would say you certainly have a better chance of seeing or at least having some sort of paranormal experience, given
people
it's just
have
been around.
Clear died in that house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I guess to the abandoned buildings point, they're abandoned and they've been around a while. It would stand to reason that there would be more of a chance that you would experience something there. But I don't have the experience. I'm only going on what I've seen on like shows and YouTube channels.
Yeah.
I don't have the personal experience of that. So I wouldn't want to speak too deeply on it, but it does stand to reason that would make sense. I mean, I guess the general gist is the older the building, the better the chance you're going to have some paranormal activity happening.
Yeah. And
unless you kind of disturb something, like if you have a new house and it's like I said, Native American burial ground or something of that caliber, where it's like if you disturb it, or like an artifact, if there was a body on the land or whatever it may be, obviously that's a different story. But
yeah, and one thing that I've always thought about that theory of like ghosts being in like abandoned buildings or like on the outskirts of lands, I feel like maybe it could be more true just because it's not populated, and that's maybe one place that they can just be by themselves, or no one will like bother them, or like what you said, like kind of like mess with them and like try to like provoke them. So maybe when they do show themselves physically in any form, maybe that's the way of saying, hey, get the hell out of here. Like, I'm not trying to, I'm here to not be around you people in a way.
Yeah. To that point. Yeah. I mean, like when you think of like haunted bars that people still frequent in like the center of towns, it's like that usually is like a glass smashing or like, some sort of more malicious activity. So to that point, it could be them being like, this is my spot. Like, what are you doing here? Get out, please. I'm just trying to be a ghost. Yeah. Which is sad because they should just want to pass on, but they're hanging on to something.
Yeah. And the thing you said about like houses that have been built, like I guarantee if we dug deep enough in everyone's yard, you will probably find something. I guarantee like someone has died on like every property at some point throughout, just the duration of time. Yeah. So, I mean, it and maybe there's like artifacts buried. Like I've read or seen stories or seen it on like, on TV of like these Indians will bury like certain artifacts that are not supposed to be messed with in a way. And when they're in the construction of building the houses, maybe they dig up too much and they'll hit these artifacts. And that's what brings these, spirits to up to kind of like be like, hey, this is not your land, this is our land. And they got professionals, I can't think of their names, but they got professionals that come and like cleanse the house, and they'll like walk the property after they do the research. Like they'll dig up whatever artifact that may be, and they'll bury it properly again. So like it doesn't continue to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, yeah, I mean, anything that, a spirit could potentially cling to that had some personal, whether it's a body or an artifact, is definitely cause for concern. And truthfully, too, kind of riffing on this, my wife and I are currently looking for a home closer to the city. And my wife just got a new job and she's going to have to commute to the city a couple of days a week. And we're in Connecticut, but we're like 20 minutes away from Rhode Island. So we're looking for like a little in between point. So we're looking at to buy like a little either home or a condo in Stamford. And we were in one a couple weeks ago, and we noted like it was a good looking condo, end unit, 3 floors, like really, well put together, like not anything visibly wrong. But as we were going through, we noticed like in every room there was a crucifix, and in almost every other room, a dream catcher, like hanging off a curtain or the shower. Like it was just, they were in weird places. And we ended up going into the basement level, and there was this room kind of off to the side. We opened it, and again, crucifixes on the wall and dream catchers galore. And I got this like blast of cold air when I entered the room. And my wife came down the hall and she's like, "What's in there?" And I shut the door, and I was like, this may not be the best fit for us. Like I just got this like uneasy
we are
feeling.
not getting this house. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what's going? And again, it looked visually the house was fine. But I got this like feeling. And then after I told her that, she was like, "Nope, we're out of here." And we booked it. I was like, we're not trying to move our 1-year-old child into this type of atmosphere.
You don't want like a real paranormal activity movie being made.
Exactly.
In your house,
yeah. That shit can happen. It's not trying to screw around.
And I'm not trying to go off topic, but like that first movie was scary as hell because it just seemed.
I thought it was
so real. Yeah, weeks. Exactly. Like it was like the Blair Witch Project effect to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It just it to this day gives me chills, and like a couple other ones after that were good, but nothing holds to that first one.
Well, it was also with that too. It was like the actors like didn't show their faces for like months after that film release. So I saw the only reason.
So they really like played the kayfabe really well of like.
Yeah, really well, like too well. And like I saw them both on like the cover of like Vanity Fair or something. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, they're supposed to be dead. It's just like, oh, it was all a whole thing. And they just, the low budget film that like was a massive success. I was just like, God damn it. But I mean, yeah, that movie was great.
But kind of going back to like house searching, since you are kind of in tune to the afterlife and spirits, do you like research these houses before you look at them when you're looking to like kind of dig into the history, or do you just go there and kind of go off the vibe that you feel as like you're walking around?
Yeah, I mean, I don't claim to be like a sensitive or like a medium or anything. I've never like been like, ooh, there's a presence here when I've walked in. But yeah, I guess it's more of a vibe, like a gut feeling. It's just like if a room's heavy, or like if that room I walked into when I hit that cold spot, it was like there was no windows open, no fans, no nothing. There's no reason for that room to be any different temperature, apart from the fact that it was in the basement. But like the basement itself was the same temperature as the entire house. So it just felt wrong. And no, I'm not doing any research on these houses. I mean, obviously when I walk into these houses, I am looking around being like, okay, this is an old house, and on like the Zillow or the realtor, it's always like built in, 73 or built in, 1920. So you kind of know what you're getting into there, but that was really the only one I've seen. We just looked at 2 last weekend, where I was just blown away. Like it was, they weren't great to begin with. Would have had to put a lot of work into it. But like this one had just like crawl space after crawl space. And like I shined my flashlight down one of them and it ran the entire length of the upstairs. And it was just like the perfect space for like that little, ring girl to like just be clawing her way towards you. Not that was like the reason we didn't get the house, but I was just like, this house, like if it's got a creepy vibe, like why risk it? It's always on, like my wife's always like, okay, the first thing she asks is, did someone die here? And to your point, it's like, yes, over the years, if the house is old enough, someone definitely could have died there.
Yeah.
But it's like for her peace of mind, she just wants to know that recently there hasn't been a death and that there's not some spirit walking around just like being like, this is still my home.
And I would ask that question too. And I would want to ask the name of the person because I would want to do my research to see what kind of spirit may be in the house. I feel like I'm weird like that. Like I just moved, I just
Give
moved
me a
to
name.
Florida, but I just moved to Florida and good luck buying a house down here at the moment. But,
Yeah.
but I'm staying with some family and like, I've been peeking a little bit on Zillow and whatnot. And any house I've found myself interested in, I'll Google the address and see what pops up in news articles and see if anything weird's happened. And then like her, I reached out and asked for names.
Yeah.
And I'll actually like search the names of the last person who died there if they know.
Right. Yeah, it's not a bad tactic. It's definitely good for peace of mind at the very least.
Because if I pull up and the person was like Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't think I want to be in that house.
Yeah.
So
yep.
And to kind of touch up on this a little more, why do you think we see ghosts, and did you think there is a reason for them making their appearance to us?
Yes. So as to why we see ghosts, I feel like, obviously some of us do, some of us don't. And the reason for that is certainly up for debate. The more scientifically minded folks will give you a whole bunch of psychological reasons for
which is bullshit. And I'm not trying to interrupt you, but one thing I feel like some people are just not in tune with themselves enough to be open to the because you really have to match your energy with what's in that room. And I feel like that's when they are presenting themselves in a physical form. It might not be a full body shape. It could just be a shadow. It could be like a curtain, moving hard without any air or wind in the house, or like an orb or just something.
Yeah.
But, I just feel like people just have to be more in tune with themselves and be able to kind of channel that into the room of what's going on, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think that's the biggest thing is people just aren't necessarily open enough to it. And that's not to say that, every little thing is a ghost, if you feel a cold spot, maybe for whatever reason, the heat just hasn't hit that part of the house, or, I feel like there are certainly in a lot of cases, reasons why things happen that aren't necessarily paranormal. However, in no way do I want that to be the main reason we don't look into anything at all. I feel like for the people who don't see them, like you said, they're closed off. They're not even really, on that search. They're just, if it were to happen, my buddy who I just talked to is the atheist. He was like, even if I saw something, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe my own eyes because I know psychologically what my mind's capable of.
But yeah, your eyes just presented a whole ass human figure in front of you, and you're going to deny.
Yeah, it's and you're just and to you and me, and hopefully a lot of my listeners and your listeners are like, no, that's that was something crazy that happened. That should be recognized. But to them, it's no, don't. But I feel like too, it's for those of us who are open. And again, I'm not necessarily, when I saw those two things, I wasn't looking for them. I was alone both times. It wasn't ideal for me to be like, oh, now's the time for me to see a ghost or, but to your point, it's just you have to be willing. And I think once your mind is in the space of believing, you're already on the path to being able to maybe not necessarily see something. I hope you would at a certain point if you're lucky enough. But at least being, like you said, feel things or just kind of get that vibe that maybe there's something else here or something is out of the ordinary in a certain space. What was the second part of that question? I got too riled up.
It's all good. So do you think there's a reason for them making their appearance to us whenever they do?
Yes. Okay. So, I think the biggest reason that people that ghosts show themselves is, I think the reason that they linger around at least is because they have either they died in an unexpected way and they don't know they're dead, or they have some unfinished business. You hear a lot of stories about like someone who died, while riding their bike. They were hit, really quickly, life ended, and they don't their spirit, I guess, soul, kind of just lingers in that area, and it's just kind of lost because it's like, it doesn't really know it's dead. It can't kind of comprehend that. So I think a lot of the times when that stuff happens, it's just these kind of lost souls who just need help moving on. But then there's also that instance of someone who, there's this story I heard where I think it was actually on Spooked, where this woman ended up like next door, I guess she kept seeing an apparition of a woman, and the woman would like walk through the wall into her home and like yell at her to be like, "What did you do to my son?" And she's like, "I don't know what I did. I don't know. Like, I have no idea who your son is." And she ended up doing some research on the house, and apparently the woman who used to live there, she let the landlord watch her kid. The landlord screwed up, and the kid ended up like hitting his head and dying. So the landlord like buried the kid out in the backwoods somewhere. And the mother, after coming home and finding out, I think he told the mother like the kid ran away. But once the neighbor had all this information, she told this to the mother's spirit, and the mother's spirit actually went to like find her son, came back and was like, "Hey, found my son. Thanks for doing that." And kind of like that was it. That was the end of their connection. And I know as I'm saying it, that story sounds crazy,
but it sounds true though.
Well, I'm just saying, just to prove the point that like there's like, if there's unfinished business, I feel like that's another big reason why spirits stay around. And I'm not saying that every unfinished business story ends with this like heroic like research and something coming to a resolution. But I feel like too, if you were wrongly killed and you're trying to like let someone know who killed you, I feel like that's another reason why they would hang around to kind of get some justice.
I 100% agree with everything you just said, but I also feel like some might be lonely and you don't have a lot of people to go to in the next life. So maybe just having company of us in the house kind of in most cases, it could just be a child, that just wants someone to play with. And maybe that's why you see like certain things kind of get knocked down, or like just the simple things. It's like, all right, man, like you need to go back in your room. Stop messing with me right now. But no, but I 100% agree with the unfinished business. And I feel like there's a small percentage of people in this world who are professionals that when you kind of get a feeling of this is something with this house isn't right, there's people out there that are so good at research that will come to your house and be like, so here's what's happened. Right. And we think if we did this, it could fix it. And those people are very special. I kind of want to talk to get one of those people on the podcast at some point, because I bet they got crazy ass stories.
Yeah, me too.
But you can't believe everything you see on TV either. Like there's a lot of shows. It's like, yeah, right. So so it's like you really have to pick and choose your poison, because either way, like I bet people are going to say we're crazy for talking about this. There's going to be a percentage of people saying we're crazy. But I really don't give a shit. It's like 2 weeks wrong. This one is kind of it's on the same subject, but it also has to deal with religion. And I'll tell you personally, I'm not religious. I'm not atheist either. I believe in a higher power, but I don't think like you have to bring more physical evidence to me proving that there was this guy who died for us and the guy parted a sea. And, like there's just a lot of questions. I need more proof, but I can look at this earth and tell that two atoms didn't just make this the way it is. Right. So I feel like there is a purpose and something after this, but like I said, rather it's heaven or hell and God and all that, I don't know. But there have been stories of like religious ghosts. And what do you think the connection between them, between God and the devil is? on why are they still on Earth, and do they have more of a purpose than other ghosts for being here?
What do you mean by religious ghosts? Like ghosts that had like occurred in the Bible, or
No, just like some people like have said like they've seen like not trying to like say like the Conjuring type shit, but like some people I've seen like around churches like nuns or like
Nuns,
fathers and all that, and or just like angels in a way, like something that looks like something from the Bible that they may have read.
yeah,
So
Gotcha.
why do you think those ghosts are still on Earth, and why would they have more purpose than other ghosts?
I mean, I think it's a very case by case basis. I mean, I think those ghosts are fairly rare, only because if you have been groomed and raised in a faith, especially if it's a Christian faith, I would presume that when you are close to dying, you are full well preparing your soul to ascend into heaven. The ones like a nun, the ghost of a priest or a nun, I would have to assume that they weren't a very good nun or priest in real life, and were either much like Satan and the rest of his minions, kind of shunned from heaven, or they are lingering here for some other reason, either personal to them or some unresolved issue. I mean, I'm actually in a couple weeks interviewing a pastor, because this is something that I am very interested into. And there's ghosts, and then there's demons, if you believe in such a thing. And I think if you subscribe to even loosely the Christian faith, whether you're Protestant, Catholic, whatever it is, you kind of have to assume that if you believe in one, the other has to be real, just kind of by default. And I personally, I am, I'm on a journey. I'm Protestant, and I do kind of live in that world. That is kind of my religious view right now. And I do believe that, kind of demons, I feel for me are more of a kind of, they're there to ruin you as a person. They feed on your
fear, really.
Your fear, but also your weaknesses. If you have an addictive personality, maybe in a weaker moment that one of those darker forces may push you to relapse, or drink too much and drive, or if you're a lustful person, maybe you cheat on your spouse, or whatever the case may be. I feel like that's more of a place for the demons. Now, the big outlier there is exorcism, and I have no experience with that. I've watched many movies on it, but I'm certainly plan to get some clarity when I talk to the pastor, because has
he done any exorcisms?
So, yes, he did conduct.
Man. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So he conducted one down in South America, actually, and he has not told me the story, but I'm really looking forward to hearing it, because and again, when I said I'm trying to get a broad swath of experiences, like I think that's a big one, because that, I think, for a lot of people kind of hits almost closer to home than ghosts, because it's like, oh shit, like this person was possessed by a demon, like what was that like, instead of just being like, oh, you saw a ghost, cool. So I feel like the demon thing and being possessed is much more visceral and raw than just a ghost story. So yeah, I think for me that's my next big one. And I as far as the nuns and the ghost nuns and priests, I just have to presume that they weren't very good nuns and priests to begin with.
So as we're kind of winding down the podcast, I want to go into some superstitions of the other side, and I want to get your thoughts on a few and see if you agree with these or not.
Sure.
So, I mean, and I'm sure you've heard some weird ones.
Yeah.
So passing a cemetery, some say hold your breath when you pass, or you'll breathe in a spirit.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard that, and I have not given it a second thought. I breathe. I walk in. My mother's buried in a cemetery. I go visit her all the time. I don't hold my breath. Yeah, I just think that's ridiculous. I can't imagine. I the only like breathing in a spirit even just sounds silly. So for me, it's like unless you're like doing what your friend did and like are conjuring it up, or you have some demonic influence, I don't think there's any cause for concern as far as like drinking in a spirit.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, because we've all been to cemeteries, and I've had friends that's died and family members, and not once from
Right,
leaving those. It's like I never felt like something followed me or came in me in a way, like
Right.
something went in. Another one is a bell ringing means an angel received their wings.
So that's one of those where like, and I have heard that one too. I it's just like I don't know. I mean, I hope that's the case. Like that would be awesome if like every time a bell rung, and you hear the church bells ring all the time. I have one quarter of a mile from my house. That would be great. But I like how could you possibly go about proving that in the positive? So I want to say yes, that's awesome, but it also sounds implausible. So.
Well, I've heard random bells like throughout the day, and we don't have like a tower or anything around us in a way, you know. So
you're saying it's just like a random like bell from out of nowhere?
Well, yeah, but I feel like subconsciously in the back of before I even knew this, it's like that's weird. I've heard random bells, my whole life.
Is it like a ringing in your ear, or is it like an actual?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a ringing and that happens, but sometimes it's like bong bong, like an actual like bell. Because I was born in a Catholic family, so like
sure.
I've been to the churches where I've heard those bells and stuff.
Right.
So it's like those church bells, and it's just like maybe subconsciously I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But another one is, and this is a Mexican folktale belief. It's like tombstones. Right. Some cultures believe that they are kept to keep spirits weighed down.
I want to say that sounds silly because once the body, I mean, if you believe in a soul and a spirit, once you
die, your soul
you're kind of just
like your spirit.
You're free to get like the ground is not the stone that's on top of you is not going to keep your spirit down. So unless there's some sort of like hex or something on that tombstone that may keep you sealed to a certain spot. Now that's getting real crazy, but that's the only thing
I'm sure there's a couple like evil people that they've done that with,
Yeah, keep them bound to that place. But yeah, other than that, doesn't hold any water for me.
And this one, right after the conversation we just had about my friend, I don't know if I believe this, but it sounds cool. Mazes were placed at some cemetery entrances to prevent spirits from returning to the world, as they only travel in a straight line.
Huh. I again have to think that that's a little silly because like I feel, so there's like residual hauntings, right? And then there's like intelligent hauntings. The residual haunting is like a tape player just constantly on repeat. It reaches a certain point and it does the same thing over and over again. So maybe that's like the straight line idea. But I think the alternate, the intelligent haunting, would have no problem finding its way in or out of the cemetery. So I think it depends on the spirit, but on the whole, I think it would not make a difference.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, I'm 100% with you just because of experiences I've had and people I've talked to. I think maybe when these older mazes were built, maybe they thought that, but if the spirit wants to get out, they're going to get out. They're going to attach themselves to anything.
They'll figure out a way, I think.
Yeah. So I'm sure they just don't travel in a straight line, for Christ's sakes. Like
that'd be asking a bit much. Just stay in that path the entire time.
No wonder they're always pissed off. They can't turn or anything.
Yeah, right.
So, and also the last one is spine chills. When you feel a chill up your spine, it means someone just walked over your featured gravesite.
Oh God. I have never heard that, but that's terrifying because I get those chills, a lot. So,
And I don't. But
I hope that's not the case.
But when I do, like my whole back kind of quivers. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, I hope that's not true. Knocking on wood right now, it's not true.
Yeah. So like I got a couple more questions, and the next one is if you could ask a ghost any, and it doesn't have to be 5 questions, but I just said 5, and you knew that they would interact back, what would you ask?
The first is, why are you still here? Because again, for me,
that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, right. Like when you die, I feel like you just want to go to, if there is a heaven, you want to get there. Like that's supposed to be the place, I don't know why you want to hang around here and like watch. And first of all, not be able to eat food or like really enjoy yourself, but just kind of linger around and possibly scare someone. That's not what I'm here for. So yeah, why are you here would be one for sure. Also, I guess to kind of piggyback off of that, like what reason do you have for staying if you chose to do that? I would also just wonder what's it like? Like, what's it like being a ghost? I think it'd probably be a pretty sad existence, but maybe they're like,
imagine what you could learn if they've been on this earth for hundreds or maybe even thousands of years. Yeah. Imagine what you could learn from these people.
But I think you might also go crazy. I don't know. Was a show. It's almost a shame to admit it. It's a CW show, or was, called Supernatural. Now, I was referred to this by my brother-in-law, and it's 16 seasons. I watched all 16 over the course of like 4 months. I couldn't get enough of it. It's like it's these 2 brothers, and they kind of just track down paranormal stuff. But they have a very interesting perspective on the show that has really kind of stuck with me. And I was like, this could be like an actual thing. Because they like, they a lot of the shows based on ghosts, and they like when they die, like one of their friends dies, he becomes a ghost. And, he kind of lingers around for a season, kind of helps them out on cases, kind of, talking to different ghosts and stuff and figuring out, what's going on in the episode. But after a certain amount of time, he begins to kind of get like wrathful and angry, and like just starts like lashing out. And the whole thing is like the longer you're a ghost, the more kind of the less human you are, so you lose your, any reason to be kind or any reason to feel empathy. And you just become this like wrathful, vengeful ghost, and you kind of lose all your humanity, and you just kind of become lost. And eventually you just, you kind of crumble under all those ill feelings and just kind of turn into nothing. So it was kind of and again, that may be completely off base, but for me, it makes a lot of sense. And like, if you don't want to transcend to heaven and move on, then you're going to linger here and kind of try to, live out some sort of ghost life. It stands to reason that you will deteriorate as a ghost, maybe not, on a scale of humans, but like in hundreds of years. And you're just going to become this like shell of a being that's just like a real dick, and I think that's kind of it. To me, that makes a lot of sense. It's like what could actually be happening. Like if you're a ghost and you've been a ghost for a while, you're probably not a very nice ghost, because you've probably seen people being happy and you don't have that anymore. And you've probably seen people enjoying a situation and you don't get to do that anymore. So I can understand how you're cool. I'm a ghost. I'm still alive. I'm still kicking around on Earth, but also I no longer get to enjoy literally anything about being a human. No one sees me. No one talks to me.
Imagine like going by a Taco Bell and knowing you can't have a
That's what I'm saying. All the life's joys you just can't experience anymore. It's like, it's got to be brutal.
Okay. So you got, why are you here? What's the reason that you're still here? You got any other ones that you would ask?
What's it like? I would be curious if it like opens up doors to other things. Like, can you like, maybe like teleport yourself somewhere? Like, are there any like perks to being a ghost? Can you like jump from China to New York in like 2 minutes, or whatever it is? Or Can you like
Looper, like the right? Is
Yeah.
that the movie from
yeah.
with the puzzles and the pictures? Like
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know what that movie's about, but I know it's with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he jumps through either time or.
and I think it had Bruce Willis or Nicolas Cage.
I mean,
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I want to say it was Bruce Willis for some reason. I think it was
It
during
could be.
that Bruce Willis era.
yeah. But yeah, I mean that would be something I'd be interested. Like, what's the upside? I guess like
The
going on with
only
that?
question that I would really have, just because I'm curious, is like, would he be able to connect you with any loved ones? Like, have that last conversation of like,
yeah,
are you able to connect yourself to these people? And even though they might not present themselves physically, what if like they could like you hear them through them in a way? Like, you know, like
a
you hear
conduit.
their voice through this ghost because they're like connecting to them in a way. Because there's a few people that friends of mine that died young, and one kind of got to me a little bit because the last conversation we had wasn't the prettiest. And you know, and after that I kind of made a pact to myself, no matter what the situation is like that happened during the day, at night I don't want to go to bed mad at anybody, and I don't want them to be mad at me. So it's like I always try to like squash it and just tell like, hey, I'm here, I love you, you know. And the conversation we had wasn't the worst, it just wasn't what you would want to end on.
for sure.
You know,
yeah.
we just had a disagreement. It's all right, fuck you, dude. Yeah, fuck you too. You know,
See you
but
tomorrow.
yeah. So I just wish like things would have went a little differently if I knew that was the last time that I was going to see that person.
Yeah.
So
that.
I just think it would be curious to know if they could like connect you with someone that you know on the other side.
Yeah, I mean that'd be great. Say, you know, little speaker box.
So do you have any questions for me before we wrap this up, or
Geez, no, I did not come prepared with questions for you.
it's all good. It's all good, man. I mean, it's just something I ask at the end because of stuff like we've talked about. Not that we went completely off topic,
No,
but I mean, I know there's some people that have been like, "Oh, could you elaborate on what you said on this a little more?" And you know, I just always try to give the people I'm interviewing a chance to just you know, to open up the conversation to something that may have happened earlier.
yeah.
So
No, I guess to that point, I guess just one question. You know, I feel like your guests are kind of varied in topic, but you clearly have an interest in the paranormal. Is apart from like your experiences that you've had, like what's your reason for entertaining me and all these crazy concepts?
So personally, I just have always knew in my heart that this shit's real, regardless of whatever you could put in front of me that denies it's fake. I'm gonna tell those people out there crazy. Like, I've seen too much. I've experienced stuff that cannot be explained, right? And those are the things that can be explained just by saying it's paranormal. Now, rather it's a ghost, a spirit, or just a mixture of both. It's something, as what we kind of said at the beginning, it's not talked about enough. And my listeners at this point know I'm crazy, but in a good way. I'm not like the kind of crazy that's like, this guy is like got a couple screws loose. You know, so I just want to bring this to a light and a perspective of, and you seem like a very intelligent guy as well. So it's like, it's just, yeah. And it's just, I'm hoping that people can just see this as, okay, maybe the shit is not as crazy as what it seems. Cause I told you stories I've only told a couple people just because of the topic. And, you know, because I can't tell those stories to everybody because they're going to be like, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, they'll write you right off. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, anytime I'm around someone that knows that it could happen, it's like it's just good to get their perspective to be like, am I crazy, or like did this like actually happen?
Team
so-
Sunkist all the way over here.
Oh hell yeah. So no, but and that's why I reached out, and like I said, your podcast is a great conversation piece. It's not your
Thank you.
typical podcast. And you kind of said that in the email as well. You're like, I checked yours out. It seems more like a conversation than and that's why I think that we would mesh well, just because even though you're 100% on one side and I have like a different type of guest every week, there's that similarity of there's no pressure here. We're just going to hit record and whatever happens,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the best way to go about shit. So,
I agree.
and once again, man, thank you so much for being on the show. This was actually really fun, and hopefully we can do this again sometime down the road. I'm going to do some more research on certain cases at some point, and I'll probably message you and be like, hey, have you covered this? Have you know anything about this? Because I really want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So yeah. So yeah, man. And I wish, and so for before I was almost about to close it out, but before I do, if you just want to kind of shout, like tell people how they can find you on your social media and your podcast. If you want to do that, the floor is all yours, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, definitely. So you can find me, my blog actually, where all this started is abridgedtoland.com. And that has I do some writings on horror films, TV shows, things like that. And I also house my podcast there. And then you can find the podcast, which is The Grave, on Spotify, Google, Apple, pretty much almost everywhere you get your podcasts. And they also live, like I said, on my blog. And you can find my social media channels. We're on Facebook and Instagram. It's The Grave Podcast for both. Trying to post stuff weekly. I have a full-time job and I'm also a dad. So it's been a real labor of love to kind of do the podcast and both of those other things. But always looking for people to talk to. So if you listen to this and you have a story, please feel free to reach out. You can also email me at podcastthegrave@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Josh, like I said, I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for just it. Like, this was awesome. So yeah, thank you.
No, Justin, thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first on the Sunkist podcast. I just talked to Josh from the Grave podcast. Josh, enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the holidays. And yeah, man, just be safe out there.
Yeah, you as well, man. And keep in touch.
All right. Yes, for sure. All right, man. Cheers.
Adios.
The Sunkist Podcast.